What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. We got a massive new surprise update here in Black Ops 7. As you can see here, well, this is actually for Black Ops 7 and Warzone. It says December 12th. These just went live around like 5-10 minutes ago, but it says global challenges. Address the issue that prevented new accounts from receiving initial daily challenges. Pretty odd bug. And then weapons. Weapon tuning. Season 1 changes are here. They include adjustments to the Akita, sniper rifles, marksman rifles, SMG attachments, and more. Mind you, the Akita was out for like 24 hours, the dual wield one, before they already nerfed it. And they said we continue to see a ton of class variety in our top performing weapons, and we will continue to focus on carrying that variety throughout Black Ops 7 seasons. We are still monitoring the usage rates on assault rifles, especially when compared to SMGs. Our data shows that while usage leans in the favor of ARs, SMGs are performing better in several other metrics that control for usage. As such, we are still taking measured approach to SMG buffs, but we'll be keeping a close eye to make sure the meta continues to evolve and enable more SMG play. Thank you for your ongoing feedback on weapons. So jumping into it, so this is the multiplayer side of things. Warzone has its own. They said right here, Maddox. We couldn't be more excited to have the Maddox back in Black Ops, and we knew from the beginning that the Echo Fire Barrel would make for a perfect prestige attachment. Unfortunately, there was an issue with the headshot multiplier on the attachment at Season 1 launch, which made the Echo Fire Barrel less powerful than it should have been. So what they've done here is they've increased the range. This is only for the barrel, so not the actual Maddox. And it says the range has been improved here. The green is what the new range is going to be pretty much. So 30 meters from 19.1, which is a pretty big buff, going all the way to 36. And then here, everything stayed the same. The range goes up to 36.8 instead of 33. Now, additional changes they've made. So they've reduced the view kick, addressed the issue with the intended headshot multiplier on 13 MFS Echo Fire Barrel. This attachment now improves headshot multiplier by 30% and addressed the issue causing the barrel to do more damage in water. Now, for the MXR17, they said, while the Prestige attachment is quite strong, we're adding some additional view kick. So this is what they did to it. View kick strength increased, but view now climbs and resets more smoothly. For the X9 Maverick, they said it continues to be their top performing weapon in the game. So burst fire delay increased from 120 milliseconds to 150. And then for the DS20 Mirage, they said it's receiving a small increase to its minimum damage. Not much has changed in terms of the damage adjustment, but these are the changes that they have made here. Now, going on to SMGs, they're adjusting a handful of attachments on the SMG, so not the SMGs themselves, with some new build options to improve recoil as well as range. But for the CODMAS 7 here, they said based on feedback, they're making small improvements to the hip spread when using a Kimbo on it. So these are the changes. So the Hawk reported comp, hip spread increase from 25 to 30. The CODMAS Akimbo hip spread penalty reduced from 40 to 30. Vertical and horizontal recoil penalty has been increased. Aim down sight speed penalty removed here. Aim walking movement speed penalty removed. And then now also improves damage range by 14% for the overpressured barrel. For the Raiden 45K attachment adjustments, the bounty grip, vertical recoil improvement increased. Horizontal recoil improvement increased. This has also been increased. So you can tell if it's a buff or a nerf just by checking here. It says increase. So for 15 to 18, and then it has been removed for the ADS speed penalty, and then this also has been removed. Now, for the RK9, they did do some attachment adjustments as well. It's like the same sort of thing they're doing, but they have its own set of grips. So the Nanopulse grip, the Vega Precision grip, the Conduit stock, same exact changes. So they're like doing the same thing for every SMG just to well balance them all out. Same thing with the Razor 9. So Vice grip did the same thing. The Drovic 45, though, they did add a note. They said our current approach to the Drovic 45 is to avoid buffs and elevate the other SMGs. The changes we're making here are to keep the functionality of the control stock and high velocity ammo consistent with the rest of the class. So as a result, the ADS speed penalty removed, aim walking movement speed penalty removed only for this stock, and then for the overpressure now also improves damage range by 5%. And then they did the same thing with the others. So the Carbon 57, the steady grip here, vertical recoil improvement increased all across the board for pretty much every single one of these attachments. And then the same thing with the MPC 25. Now, going on here into the shotguns, they said we're making some adjustments to the Dragon's Breath across all shotguns to differentiate it more than the default ammo. Each application of Dragon's Breath will do less damage for a shorter amount of time, amounting to the same DPS but for a shorter duration. And then they say here, weapon class adjustments is Dragon's Breath. It now deals 12 damage over 0.5 seconds rather than 30 damage over 2.5 seconds. Burn can still stack up to 2.5 second duration. For the M10 Breacher here, you'll see the base has been updated to 35 from 10, but then the pellets have been reduced to 18. And then they did the same thing across the board pretty much for everything. They kept it the same from medium range 2 and then minimum damage, but they increased the base. So that's what that did. And then the Echo 12, it got the base from 20 to 30 increase, and then 15 to 20. Pellets have been kept the same, and then the base from 7 to 20, and then from 1 to 16. They said by now you're probably well acquainted with Akita, how strong it is. It's receiving a comprehensive balance pass that reduces its range, cuts some of its mid-range damage, and gives it more recoil. Dragon's Breath in particular was much deadlier than it should be and has its damage reduced. It should now fulfill the intended role of stretching range and consistency, but at the expense of close quarter DPS. From the very beginning, we knew having a Kimbo on the Akita would be diabolical, so obviously we had to do it. Dual wielding Akita should be a clear choice for players that want to be ultra aggressive and go all in on close quarter engagements. We're making some adjustments to the Akimbo to help solidify that in gameplay when paired with the base weapon damage nerfs, but limit its effectiveness past closer ranges. We will of course keep a close eye on this one to make sure it's not too dominant in the long run. So they did do a nerf, so from 0.25 meters to 2, then the pellets have been decreased by 1, and then the range has been reduced, pellet lowered here, range, and then the range has been reduced here. Now for general increased view kick strength, and then for the Akita Scorch Link Akimbo, they removed the damage penalty as a result of base Akita damage reduction. Damage range penalty increased from 40 to 60%, and then shots to overheat reduced from 15 to 13. And then the 12 gauge Dragon's Breath also got an update, so the base from 10 to 7, pellets have been reduced all across, and then it has been increased here to 7, and then also increased here to 7, while everything else saw a decline. For the LMGs, they have removed the penalties on the control stock for LMGs as well, since they felt excessive for a class that already contends with low mobility and handling. So it says here, attachment adjustments, shock shield stock, aim down sight speed penalty removed, aim walking movement removed, and they did the same sort of thing here. So these are for both these. And then for the Marksman rifle, so it says the M8 receiving attachment changes like the SMGs so that players have more opportunities to build it towards stability. Same exact thing as the SMGs that we just talked about earlier. So they increased, all the improvements have been increased across the board, and then the penalties have been removed. The Warden 308, we are reducing the fire rate on the Warden 308 to make it less effective to spray and pray for one-shot kills in close quarters, where recoil isn't a factor. In mid-range engagements, the new fire rate should still be more than enough for effective follow-up shots, so the fire rate has been reduced from 600 rounds per minute to 480. The Nova line, it says it's intended to be a powerful mid to long range weapon. We're adding a bit of flinch and recoil to give some more room for counterplay. Since the weapon's lethality is very high, we're also adjusting the fire rate on the semi-auto fire mode because it is outclassing the 2-round burst mode in an unintended way. So receive flinch increase from 0.5 to 0.55, slightly increased view kick, and then semi-auto select fire. The fire rate has been reduced and the vertical and horizontal recoil has been reduced. Sniper rifles, on the other hand, it says they're sitting close to where they like them at the moment, but these are a handful of attachments that are making them frustrating to play against. The laser in particular is too strong, and they're setting it back to the value it had in BO6. We are also reducing some of the flinch improvements on attachments on the VS Recon and Shadow SK, which are too powerful when stacked. This should give more opportunity for counterplay against these weapons while keeping their handling and potential unchanged. We saw feedback about the weak collateral potential on the VS Recon and Shadow SK, so they are updating the base damage, and here's pretty much what they did. So the damage has been increased here for the VS Recon, the damage for medium damage range, and then also here as well. And then these are the attachment adjustments and things like that. So general arm multiplier reduce, lower arm multiplier reduce, and then the attachment changes. I don't want to read every single one. The video is going to be already pretty long, but yeah. Then the Shadow SK, same sort of thing here. It's too versatile when built for hip spread. When it's prestige attachment, the goal for the attachment is to see how far we can push a no-scope build as an alternate playstyle, but by improving hip spread so much, it indirectly makes the hip to ADS transition too strong as well. We're pulling back on the hip spread improvements across a couple of attachments to limit things. So first off, the range itself has been increased for both of these. And then they've also pretty much nerfed the prestige attachment, as you see here. And then these are other changes that they've also made. So a lot of decreases all across. And then for the XR3 Ion, they said they've seen feedback on it and feeling weak, difficult to use, and certainly behind other sniper rifles. So they are buffing it with usability while keeping the weapon focused on being slower with a higher power option. In addition to the base buffs, they're also making changes to the prestige attachment and quick charge attachment that should make them more impactful and transformative. Then it says prestige attachment now has a smaller charge time penalty, lets you stack near perfect hip spread, but managing movement is required for maximum precision. And these are the changes that they have made. Going into launchers, we have the ARC M1. The goal is to provide an anti-vehicle weapon that feels distinct from the typical rocket launcher and also has some anti-personnel capabilities thanks to some tech improvements. They're increasing the speed of the energy shot, so it says doubled projectile speed and no longer intercepted by trophy systems. And then for the ballistic knife, they said they launched a ballistic knife with similar values to past iterations, and that's what they do when they bring back classic weapons. And then they also mention here that they think deviating from the past tuning is a better way to go. Improvements to projectile speed, a flatter projectile arc, and the removal of pre-fire delay. Note a short sprint to fire delay is still present, will make the ballistic knife feel much more usable. So that's what they did. Remove pre-fire delay, projectile speed increase, and the vertical arc reduced. Now for multiplayer, major changes. So maps added Blackheart back to the map pool. It was removed. Sledgejack added to private match modes, increased score of hardpoint owned score event from 10 to 15, and then spawn updates reduced the strength of owned domination zones, increase the distance of sight distance checks to reduce near enemy spawns, adjusted enemy influencer strength across all maps, and adjusted spawn logic in sharpshooter. They also adjusted issue and overload that allowed primary weapons to be used while carrying the EMP. Now, as for the equipment, reduced fuse time window for cluster grenades, mini grenade detonations for more consistent explosive timing, added 1 hunter bot to the base ammo count. Players now start with 2 hunter bot tacticals by default and 3 with tac expert wildcard. Field upgrades trophy system now ignores combat axes, reduced black hat charge time from 2 minutes to 1.5, and then score streaks UAV reduced duration from 30 seconds to 25, counter UAV reduced it from 30 to 25, skewer increased skewer velocity when equipped with the high efficiency fuel overclock, sentry turn, increased targeting degree angles, decreased target acquisition time, increased sentry turret damage from 10 to 14, and then increased sentry turret durability against frag clusters and other lethals. Interceptors with the air patrol overclock equipped will now perform an additional pass for a total of 3 passes. The dog with the sentry mode overclock equipped will now receive 25% reduced damage when hunkered in sentry mode. For the Rhino, increased Rhino movement speed slightly. For the Harp, increased Harp durability against the ARC M1 and 2 to 3 hits to kill. And then for the EMP, reduce EMP system score requirement from 1450 to 1300. Reduce EMP system discount bonus with dispatch overclock from 150 to 100. And then for the challenges, address the issue that prevented the Hunter Bot mystery badge from tracking score streak destruction. Change the Prestige 8 calling card challenge Royal Flush from with overkill wildcard equipped. Get a double kill with both equipped primary weapons in the same life. Players will no longer incorrectly receive the combat specialty daily challenge. Address the issue where the hardened calling card challenge saving ammo could be completed. Then they changed the launcher Arclight challenge from get 10 double kills or better to get 2 kills without dying 10 times. UI added weapon attachment information to the kill cam and best play. Adjust the issue where weekly challenges menu would be overlapped by other UI, and then adjust the issue where weekly challenge timer being incorrect. And then they did things like graphics improved VTOL crash sequence, audio removed counter UAV, audio scramble when using vigilance perk, and then the zombie changes. So maps Astrum Malorum, adjusted telescope to use 3 times per round, increased telescope use duration for 15 to 30 seconds, and then addressed an issue where multiple main quest machines failed to enter a cooldown after being exited multiple times without entering any codes. Addressed an issue where the final encounter could be initiated again after loading a save game where it was already completed. Addressed the issue where rotating Mars or Saturn and the Machina Australis where they could visually rotate around the wrong axis. Addressed a rare issue during the final encounter where the boss could fall under the map during a phase transition. Addressed the spot where the Arc XD couldn't be reached by zombies, and closed the exploit where jumping off the map would reset field upgrade cooldowns. Then for modes, Curse addressed the issue where gaining points too quickly could result result in a crash. Address the issue where relics wouldn't spawn properly on specific rounds. Weapons X9 Maverick now reduce burst fire delay by half when Pack-a-Punch. The Warden 308 improves sprint to fire time when Pack-a-Punch, remove pre-fire delay, and improve ADS speed. The Shadow SK also improved fire rate when Pack-a-Punch. And then the Jagger 45, known issue, currently fires slower than expected. This is unintended and scheduled to be addressed in an upcoming fix. And then the Percola changes. They closed an exploit with Mule Kick where equipment would be fully stocked when thrown out of bounds and using the BOGO Minor Augment. Quick Revive addressed the issue where equivalent exchange would sometimes not function correctly. And then challenges address different issues with Prestige 9 calling card challenge, issues with Prestige 10 calling card, Master, and yeah, so just calling card stuff that they had issues with. And then co-op campaign, so they did the same sort of thing with weapons. So M10 Breacher, damage range has been improved after the first damage upgrade. Same thing with the Echo 12 and the Akita. The Warden got headshot multiplier improvements, neck and upper torso improvements, fire rate improvements, and view kick strength improved. Nova Line headshot multiplier improved, neck and upper torso multiplier improved, burst damage, view kick, same thing. So everything got a buff in terms of the Coda, the Jagger, the Shadow SK, Nova Line, and all of those. And then for the challenges, updated the text on week 2 weekly co-op and endgame challenges. Get a kill while driving a vehicle to get a kill while in a vehicle. And now we jump into the Warzone patch notes. So modes and Battle Royale weekend only LTM. Base health increased from 450 up from 150. Base health regeneration multiplier increased to 3 up from 1. Armor, players no longer spawn with armor. Armor plates found via loot have been removed. Armor plates dropped on death decreased to 0, down from 1. And then other health bars now appear above opponents. Ammo found via loot has been increased. Stim shots have been removed from the loot. Self-revives can be found via ground loot. And gas damage multiplier increased to 3, up from 1. And the reasoning is they said here, in this mode, we're experimenting with a fundamentally different approach to survivability in Warzone by significantly increasing core health and health regeneration while making armor plates far more scarce. We want engagements to rely less on armor management and more on sustained combat, positioning, and decision making. This shift is designed to change the pace and feel of fights in a meaningful way, creating a distinct experience compared to traditional Warzone modes. As always, we'll be closely monitoring player feedback. And then here's the playlist update that we have for this week. So Battle Royale, solos, duos, trios, quads on Verdansk, Battle Royale casuals and quads, Resurgence, solos, duos, trios, and quads in Haven's Hollow and Rebirth Island, and then Resurgence casual in Haven's Hollow for quads. And then Amped Battle Royale weekend only LTM on Verdansk. Now as for the perks, Ghost no longer hides a player from advanced UAVs, and then they give like a description on why they decided to do that. Feel free to read that. And the reactive armor plates regeneration speed reduced from 20 to 12 seconds. Then they also give the reasoning for why they did that. As for the weapons, they said in today's update, we've hand selected a subset of weapon adjustments for Warzone that our partners at Chark are deploying for multiplayer. These changes are the first of a 2-step plan as we approach the holidays. Next week, they'll be releasing a second wave of weapon adjustments specifically focused on Warzone that we believe will complement the changes arriving today. So it did the same sort of things that they did over there in multiplayer. So the barrel, the view kick strength increase, same exact thing, reduced view kick, MXR 17, and then for the COGOT, the comp hip spread improvement increase from 25 to 30, and then yeah, so they're doing the same sort of things here, not as much as a multiplayer, but they're bringing in some of those changes. We see that with the Akita, the Nova Line as well, the Shadow SK. The VS Recon also saw this one with the handguard, the pad, the other pad, and then the laser. And then the hip spread transition increased from 55 to 90. Light bolt fire rate improvement increased from 7 to 29. The Ion reduced idle sway, improved stability while jumping and landing. The Arc M1 double projectile speed no longer intercepted by a trophy system. Ballistic knife removed pre-fire delay and all of that stuff that we already talked about. And then these are the bug fixes that they have done with today's update. So a pretty big surprise update that we got. What are your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that like and sub button, and I'll see you guys again. Peace.